Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to your favorite show, the Sales on Demand Show. I'm Adam. This is episode 136. Will recession affect your business? Yeah, I'm talking about recession, but I've got some good stuff in this episode, so don't turn that dial. Okay, so it's been a great week so far. It's only been a week, I think, since I put out my last show, but a lot has happened, and all of it good. So, last week I was talking about health and health-related topics, and I want to revisit that a little bit. So, on Saturday, I had one of the busiest days that I've had for a long time. Got up in the morning and ran a triathlon. It was good. It was fun. I didn't win anything. Not that there were like prizes or anything, but looking at my score, I was pretty much the slowest in my age category, which I wasn't sure how that would work, but now that I see it, I was like, yeah, okay. What really slowed me down is that I'm not a strong swimmer. Honestly, I'm just glad I got through the swimming. That was not easy for me. I just don't swim. And I underestimated, or no, maybe I properly estimated how difficult swimming would be. But I did get through it. Swam the 500 meters in about 20 minutes. Then the bike portion, I'm riding a mountain bike, so that slows me down automatically. Then the running portion, I was fine. That's kind of what I'm good at. And my wife took a video of me crossing the finish line, which was cool. And then I look at the video and I'm like, oh my gosh, I still need to lose a few pounds. I was like, I know the camera adds 10 pounds, but how many cameras were on me? So, so I was thinking about that. And then I went to officiate a wedding. Officiate a wedding. So I used to be a minister, and for this wedding, this old friend of mine, she asked me, she's like, hey, can you officiate my wedding? I'm getting married. So I went back to the church organization, and I said, hey, can I get a temporary permit? And they said, yes. Sent it to me, and I was like, okay, cool. So I did the wedding, and it was great. Saw a lot of old friends there. And then the bride and a friend of hers, we were just chatting in the kitchen. And these are old friends of mine, so it was a great conversation. And then they just happened to drop this little tidbit that she's like, well, I'm just not eating sugar these days. I don't eat any carbs. I just eat like steamed vegetables and meat. And then her friend said pretty much the same thing. And I was very intrigued by this. So I started asking questions like, well, do you don't crave sugar? Like, how did that affect your health? Obviously she said, I'm losing weight too, and I have to start eating carbs to maintain my weight. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay. And I realized I eat a lot of sugar. And I was thinking about that pretty much the rest of the day. And I went home and I started, looking up dietary plans. And at first I was like, well, what about keto? Keto is the old very low carb, high protein, high fat diet. But keto's not good for athletic people. Like if you're doing a lot of running and burning a lot of energy, carbohydrates are still kind of important because it's just really hard to perform well on fat. You can, but it's you're just not going to perform well. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound like the solution to me. Like, I just don't want to go straight on to, no carbs. So I thought, well, what about cutting sugar? And that seemed like a more practical thing, and it sounded like it was going to work. And especially the more I thought about it, how much sugar I actually eat in any given day. So I played the tape in my mind, get up in the morning, and I was doing intermittent fasting. But the problem with intermittent fasting is that when you can break your fast, you basically eat everything in the house. So I was like, well, that's not really working that well. Like intermittent fasting, I'm not losing any weight, but I'm not gaining any weight. So, I mean, it's been kind of neutral. So I thought, well, how much sugar am I eating? And if I cut that out, I'm sure I'd start losing weight. But the thought of cutting sugar was anathema to me. I was like, I just don't want to. Like, it's rough. But, sometimes things, it's not that I can never have sugar again. It's just that I was relying on sugar for a very real dopamine rush, like a very real kind of like a comfort thing. And it wasn't for nutrition, it's for comfort. I just really love sugar, and especially chocolate and things related to chocolate, things that look like chocolate, things that are shaped like chocolate. Those are all very, very good and delicious. So I think it was Sunday night this last week. I was like, all right, I'm doing it. And I said, this is my last sugar. So I of course, the last thing I ate that was full of sugar was a bubble tea. Those things are packed with sugar. If you don't know what bubble tea is, just go look it up. They're all over the place. So that was my last, like, real sugar. And the first day not eating sugar was a struggle. And I knew it was going to be a struggle. And I was prepared for it. I got a headache. Just took a little Advil. And was kind of in a bit of a fog. But otherwise, I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. It's not like heroin withdrawal or anything, or the cravings that I used to get from nicotine withdrawal. But I still felt cravings from, just wanting to have some sugar. So I pushed through that, and I said, I'm doing the first 3 days with no sugar whatsoever, not even fruit. So normally people who cut out sugar, they say, yeah, you can have some fruit. But I was like, first 3 days, no fruit. I want to reset my taste buds completely. So I got through 3 days with nothing, including fruit. And by day 3, I felt pretty good. Like, no major headache, just a little bit of feeling tired. I can tell that my athletic performance is not where it normally would be, and I expected that. This is kind of a recovery week for me anyway. I just did a major athletic event, and I don't want to push myself too hard in the following weeks because I want to heal up and keep training. You don't want to get injured. So the whole thing seems like it's been a good experiment, and I've already lost 1.5 pounds. So that's also pretty cool. And I do feel a little bit better. I had an apple yesterday, and that was it. And even the apple, it was hard to finish the apple. Like, I had to eat it slowly throughout the day. I cut it into pieces, and I just ate the apple slowly. Because when you don't eat sugar for a period of time, eating sugar, even something that is sweet or strong tasting, it really overwhelms your senses. And I realized just how much I've desensitized my taste buds to sugar, right? Right now, if I ate a cookie, just one cookie, it would probably send me into paroxysms or something. I don't know. It would be weird to eat a cookie right now. And I don't want one. So, yeah, I feel good. I still have a few moments here and there where I'm just really, really want something sweet. But I know that eating, a chunk of an apple is usually good enough to kind of take that down. So I'm happy. My goal overall is to get down to about 8 or 9% body fat. Right now I'm at 15 or more % body fat, which is that's normal for a man to be at 15%. That's high normal though. And I know that a lot of that is what they call visceral fat. So it's underneath, inside in your organs. And I want to get rid of some of that. And getting rid of weight, it helps you to avoid injury when you're running. and it helps you run faster. It also just makes you feel better. You're not bloated all the time. So I'm very, very enthusiastic about this, and I feel like this was the right decision for me. And I was amazed. I put this on social media. I was surprised at how many other people were trying this at the same time. I had like 3 or 4 people comment that, yeah, I'm doing the same thing at the same time. So it's kind of like, hey, we're all in this together. We're all doing this sugar fast now. So, let's all do it. So if you want to join me in doing this, send me a Facebook message or comment on Facebook and say, hey, yeah, I'm doing this too. Like, let's do it jointly. My overall goal is to do this for 30 days and then see how that goes and maybe just keep doing it. I'm not saying I'll never eat sugar again, but I just really want to reduce the amount of sugar I eat. I want sugar to be like this special treat that it used to always be. I kind of want to just eat the way that people always normally ate, where a little bit of honey, a little bit of maple syrup was like all they really needed, and then they just need meat, vegetables, and some carbohydrates to live on. So there we go. So what is happening right now in the market? Like, getting into the main topic here, will recession affect your business? Let's list all of the crazy things that are happening right now. So, number one, of course, crypto crash. If you guys have been following crypto, I was dabbling in crypto, but then I wouldn't say I went hard in crypto, and I still would, like, I'm very neutral on what's happening with crypto. Like, it doesn't really bother me that much. My crypto portfolio was at 10,000, and it dropped all the way down to 3,500. And I was like, wow, that's not a haircut. That's like decapitation and like removing everything but the top of your armpits or something like that. That was a drastic crash. But, I mean, the same thing has happened to stocks. It wasn't as drastic, though. And I don't think crypto is done or anything like that. I am very glad I didn't get into NFTs. Like, NFTs were this big hot thing that people were trading. And I was looking at that and I'm like, yeah, no. No. NFTs are not something I want to get involved in. And I'm very glad I didn't start spending time, money, and effort trading pictures of monkeys or whatever. I'm just sticking to real products that people want to buy. So then, of course, the stock market has drastically, I don't know if it's as drastic. It's maybe like, I can't remember if it's 15%. It's gone back, though. And I have some stocks as well. I have a lot of my, what do you call them? I have some old pension money that I was forced to invest in stocks. Not that I wouldn't have invested it in stock already, but basically I there's no option to take it in cash or anything like that. So if you have a pension in Canada and you leave your company or something like that, they basically require that you put it into what's called a LIRA. It's a locked-in retirement account, and I'm fine with that. Like, it didn't bother me to put the money in there. It's a decent amount of money. It was almost $150,000, and it has grown quite a bit. I put it into the highest growth account that I could possibly find. I was like, I told the people, I'm like, I don't need to touch this for a very long time. I want you to make this money grow. So it looks like that's happened decently, and it still has a little bit of, it's still up from where it was when I first put it in there, which was probably about 4 years ago. So that's fine. I don't have any other stock holdings. I just have a lot of cash, and I'm watching some very peculiar things happen. Like, there's inflation that is just absolutely devastating the value of my money. It's about a percentage. I would say that inflation, the true inflation rate, is about a percentage point every month, which, every month that you sit on $30,000, it becomes worth less, and that's significant. Then, of course, there's this culture war that is just like people are crazy about the things that they care about that used to be. There's always been cultural battles. There has been ever since humankind started, being human societies. But I don't know that it's ever been this bad in my lifetime. Um, Political division is huge too. Politicians are just outrightly declaring war on entire sections of the population. They're just saying, yeah, we hate you and we want you to suffer. They're not saying that, but they're basically implying that. And in some cases, they are saying that, such as with Justin Trudeau, who said, this is a fringe minority of people with unacceptable views. Which, by the way, I put that on a coffee mug and made a bunch of sales from that. So that's been a big issue, and I don't see that it's going to change anytime soon. But we are also looking at the edge of a recession. So, I mean, what is a recession? Most people don't really know what a recession is, except that it's bad. But the recession is actually good. Don't think of recession as being bad. A recession is necessary. What a recession does is, in every economy that relies on paper money, fiat money, the money goes out, and because it is cheap to borrow, right? We had 0% interest rates for what, like 10 years? I don't know if it was 10 years. It was a long time. We had 0% interest rates. So basically free money. You can borrow money for very cheap. And so asset prices go up and people start investing in things that become overinflated in value. A great example of this is house prices. House prices are way overinflated. We need house prices not just to decline a little bit, but to decline a lot. Like, we need house pricing to just basically not go anywhere for about 10 years. And I'm sorry, most people are looking at their house. They're like, I need my house to keep its value. Well, listen, paying $850,000 for a house is unsustainable. That's just ridiculous. We cannot allow the price of shelter to just exceed $1 million for an average home. That's insane. Like, who could possibly afford that? Now, of course, there's other factors there, like the fact that the government, demands all kinds of, they won't let you build a house, they won't let you build small houses, basically there's so many rules surrounding houses, it's very difficult to build one. It certainly doesn't help that the price of lumber is really high, and probably not going to go back down again. But, inflation is eating up the value of your money, and anybody sitting on money, like if you have money in your bank account or in your pocket, what do you do with that money to save it from being basically eaten away? So what I've been doing with my money is I've been holding on to it because I didn't really know what to do with it. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to put it into crypto because I still think crypto it's not done yet. I'm sorry to tell all of you guys this, but the crash isn't over yet. So don't start, maybe buy a little bit of assets that you think are really undervalued. That's totally fine, but don't go out and just blast your cash into assets. Hold on to some of that, at least. So as far as crypto, I don't know. I think it's probably hit a floor, but probably not. Like, it may have, it may not. There's really no way to predict that. And it's going to go back up for sure. But when and how much is anyone's guess. It could stay very deflated over the course of the next 18 months, or it might go back to where it was before. I don't see any reason that it would go up. Like, the pressure on prices right now is to fall. That is where the pressure is. People are not going out and buying crypto because they understand it's a risky asset, right? And people during recessions, they don't want risk. They want security. So risky assets do not usually go up during recessions. They go up outside of recessions because people see that, they have cash to invest and things are good, and so they feel a little bit more confident. So lack of confidence means that risky assets are going to take a hit. Stocks, yeah, I don't know, you could try dollar cost averaging into some of the stock market. So if you were going to do that, I would say, if it were me doing that, then I would take, a little bit of my money and put it into the S&P 500 and just dollar cost average every week or month into that with a little bit of my cash to just buy the deflated price, and then dollar cost averaging actually gives you an overall lower price, especially if you're doing it regularly. So if you dollar cost average every week, you overall will get a lower average price of buy-in, so you'll have more stock to show for it. So that's what I would do if you were intent on buying some stock. I'm really not sure if I want to do that at this point. What I'm looking to do is reinvest in my business. So I have been taking a different mental approach in the last few months, and now it's time to not spend money. So we'll talk about this in a bit here, but what do I expect to happen? Now, this is literally just me pulling this out of my hind end, so this could be completely wrong. So what my expectations are, and some of this you might recognize as what other people are saying. Some of it is just my own sort of, vision of what I hope will happen. So I expect the economy to have 18 months of pain. Now, why 18 months? Because Joe Biden and the Democrats are going to lose. They are going to absolutely be demolished in the midterm elections in the United States. Republicans are going to be voted in. Now, Republicans are not trustworthy people either. As you can see by their voting record, they're awful. They're just a little less awful than the Democrats. So what's more likely to happen is that Republicans are going to signal, hey, we need to cut spending. We need to cut spending. And so they're going to allow the economy to experience that 18 months of pain. Now, one added benefit of this is that it makes Joe Biden look even worse, right? So whoever runs for president in 2024, most of the pain will have been done by then, hopefully, and then we'll swing back to stability. Now, I'm not saying that prices are going to go back up, right? They're just going to stabilize. And that's what we want. We don't want prices to be high. We want prices to go back to a reasonable level, whatever that is. So if the price of your house drops by 20%, that's a reasonable level. And it sucks. Like if you bought a house at the peak of the marketplace and you didn't have enough, like if you only put 5% down, yeah, you're going to be underwater. And boy, where have we seen that before? I don't know, 2008? Ring a bell, anybody? Like, this is not new. And this is why part of my strategy is, like, we're in the process of buying a house, but I want 20% down. Like, I'm not going to put 10% down on this house. I'm putting 20 or 30 or maybe even 40, right? I don't want to have any risk of default on this house, and it lowers my payments. It just creates a more stable lifestyle for my family. I don't necessarily disagree with borrowing money to buy a home. Like, I understand in this world, like, it's very hard to build a house with cash. It can be done. I think it can be done, but it's difficult to do. So borrowing, 50% of the house value to do that is probably rational and reasonable. Even in small towns, it's still difficult to buy a home. But you just don't need, putting 5% down is just silly. Like that's a recipe for disaster. And then buying a house that is, anywhere near, well, $800,000, that is ridiculous. Like if you can't find a home less than that, move somewhere else. Don't buy a home for that much money. You will get stuck with that. and you won't have any way to sell it because it'll be underwater. And you'll be stuck making extremely high payments. Again, 2008. I don't know if just people forgot that 2008 happened. It was literally the same thing. So, okay. So 18 months of pain, and then hopefully swing back to stability, whatever that looks like. And then I'm thinking we're probably due for another 15% inflation over that period of time. And then another 15% drop in stocks and asset prices. Because again, we need to cut the bloat. Stock prices were too high. They were too high. They were absolutely too high, and we were due for a drop in prices. So how do you run a business in this climate? Like, what do you do? I mean, so first of all, the products that I sell, print-on-demand products, people still buy them. Like, I'm looking at my sales so far, and I'm making sales. People are still buying print-on-demand products because they're not expensive products, and people still want to buy gifts for each other. I think the only thing that would cause a drop or a complete, like, a half, if sales were to cut in half, it would be because there's an actual war going on, and people are really scared. So I don't expect that a recession is going to really significantly cut my prices, my sales. The costs that I have, I am very, very closely looking at my costs, and I am going to be slashing costs, but only the costs that are unnecessary, right? There are still some costs that I have that I have to keep going. So I'm looking to grow. And I know that growing a business in a recessionary climate, that's hard to do. That is very hard to do, and you might have to push and grind very hard. But if you can grow your business during a recession, then it's going to grow much faster when the recession ends. And all recessions end. They all do. Sometimes they keep going past 18 months, so that's quite possible. We might be looking at President Ron DeSantis, and the recession ends, maybe a year after he takes office or something crazy like that. Or, President Kamala Harris, God forbid. Can you imagine that? President Kamala Harris? Boy, the memes. They just write themselves, don't they? So that's basically, so I got 4 points here. So number 1, don't run in the red. So don't let your business be bleeding money. And don't let your personal finances be bleeding money either. This is not the time to go and start planning an expensive vacation. Like, if you've already saved the money for it, sure. But definitely do not borrow money to do stupid things. Don't buy a new car. Anybody who buys a new car in this climate, I don't know what what is wrong with your brain? Buying a new car? Just buy a used car. It's almost impossible to find a new car, even as is. And buying one is, I don't know. I mean, you're taking a huge risk, right? Number 2, don't run in the dark. So running in the dark means running without information. You should be constantly researching your market. You should know what your competitors are doing. You should know new products that are coming out. You should be looking at the future with both eyeballs open and all the lights on, right? So never blindly stumble into any kind of business without knowing, what is this business about? What is it doing? And how profitable are my competitors? So, for example, I am going to be adding a bunch of jewelry style products to my Amazon store. I'm going to be advertising them. I have probably spent 30 to 40 hours researching the kinds of products that people are buying, what my competitors are doing with those, and how profitable they are. And I'm very confident that I can find a product that's going to be good and profitable, and that by the time Christmas comes around, I will be able to make a lot of money. So that's my goal. But I'm not stopping the sales of other products. And that's point 3 is don't rely on one marketplace or one type of product. There's a lot of different products out there. So there's mugs, there is tumblers, shirts, jewelry, ornaments, posters. There's all kinds of products, and you should spread yourself out as much as possible so that you can capture sales from all of them. It's really also different marketplaces, right? So I'm selling in Canada, I'm selling in the US, and I will be adding Australia and maybe Japan. I was planning to add Japan earlier, but I've put that off for the time being because my focus needs to be on one thing at a time, and I'm focused on adding my jewelry products right now, and that's where my focus needs to be. So I don't want to divide my focus up too much. So number 4, don't quit your day job. Yeah, I know, your day job probably sucks. Dude, I've been there. I mean, if you guys have been listening to this podcast from the beginning, you probably heard me griping about my job. And I've talked about the job I did for 10 years. I had to drive 2 hours to get to work. And then I would work for 10 and a half hours, and then I'd come home, and I'd drive the same route to get home. Usually it's a little faster to get home for some reason. But yeah, that was my job for 10 years. Not every single day, but quite frequently, probably every, 4 out of 7 days of the week I was doing that. So yeah, it was stressful. It was very, very stressful. But I didn't quit the job until I had something else that was equivalent. When I did quit the job, it was for something better. And then I did another job. I was a highway patrol officer for probably 2.5, maybe 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 years. And then I had another offer that was even better. And so I retired on my terms. I didn't let my feelings dictate what I was going to do. I made plans and I executed the plans. If you got to stick through that day job for another 18 months, then do it. It's not, you need cash to live on, right? This is not the time to throw caution to the wind and just jump off the cliff. There could be a point where you will have to do that. And I kind of did do that in 2020, right? I had a sort of a job offer, but not really. It was basically a freelance position, and I was like, okay, you're jumping into self-employment here, and I'm giving up all the benefits and everything. It's worked out really well for me, but it was because I had the perfect opportunity in front of me, and I knew that with all of my income streams, I would still be okay, right? The numbers worked out. I wasn't taking that much of a risk. It was a small risk, but it wasn't that much of a risk. So I was able to manage that. If you need cash to live on, if you got a family, then don't you dare let that family go hungry while you go and chase some random dream. Listen, you can do all of this in your spare time. This is easy to do in your spare time. I build my business basically in my spare time. Most of my time I spend, coaching students and doing paperwork and stuff not paperwork, but just managing a team of coaches. I don't spend most of my time building my business. My business is still a very part-time thing, right? And I do it when I can. So half an hour a day, sometimes an hour a day. And that's good enough. That has worked well. And you can hire people to do the same thing for you. So I've got, a couple of virtual assistants that help me out as well. And that has worked extremely well for me. So don't quit your day job. Now is not the time to do that. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep saving the money that you're earning. And keep reinvesting in yourself. Now, if you guys want to know more about what I do, you can join me online at salesondemandshow.com/start. You get 5 free videos that show you the basics of how to start a print-on-demand business. It's really easy. I've had a few people do it. One guy just messaged me, a friend of mine, And he said, yeah, I already made my first sale. And I was like, wow, that's pretty good. Good work, dude. You've done well. So, yeah, salesondemandshow.com/start. And join me next week for more fun talk about business. Cheers.